What's up? What's up? It's your girl Angie Fox back in the house on the number one empowerment platform in the land. That's right. Call your neighbors, call your friends, and everybody that you know. It's time for you to tune in and stay tuned in to the We Are One podcast. In the house, in the house. Your girl is here and she doesn't roll alone. Y'all know how I do. I show off, I show off, I show off when I got my peeps with me. So as you all know, we had our last show and we were with the incredible Aisha Farmer. But guess what? Part two is here and she is back in the house again. Help me welcome again, Miss Aisha Farmer. How are you doing, my love?
I'm even better this time around,
I
even better.
know that's right. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us. Brett is still hanging with us in the house. You're going to hear from her shortly, but she is taking some time out of her very busy schedule. At least that's what she wants me to think. She's busy, and she is rolling with us on the We Are One show. And I wouldn't have it any other way. What's up, Brett?
What's going on? What's going on?
All right, we're going to jump right into part two. On the last show, Aisha, you were talking to us about the purity pledge that you made at the age of 15, 26 years ago,
Hmm.
and the
Ooh.
importance of it. So, as a mentor and leader of girls and women everywhere, we want to pick up right there and let's continue with the purity pledge. Why is it so important? Why was it important then? And do you think it's still important and needed now, and why?
It was important then. As I shared with you, I had some encounters that I did not like, and it made it so easy. It made it a lot easier for me to take the pledge because then I had ownership of something. I had ownership of my purity, and it was like, okay, anything that tries to violate that is an issue for me. And
Okay.
so after I took that pledge, I think I changed a lot. Like I said, I probably wasn't the beacon of light that I should have been as far as the entire understanding of purity. But as far as the physical part, I was very focused on making sure I didn't, have sex, especially in those teenage years. I
Yeah.
remember being like super overprotective of that. And so I think that
Wow.
as I said, it gave me like this ownership. Oh no, I was serious about it. It gave me this ownership because anytime somebody would try to violate, by coming and trying to insinuate that that's what they wanted, oh, it was a lecture. It was don't play with me like that. It was some of everything. I
Wow.
didn't play that. And so I wanted everybody to be on the same wavelength. So I was that friend that was telling everybody, just don't do that. You shouldn't have sex. You shouldn't do this. I was preaching that early. But I think it's important. It was important then, and it's still important. It's just that these children are exposed to so much more now. It's just different, and they're making it seem as though if you are out there and you are active and you know twerking and all these other things, that are public now, that this means you're liberated. This means that you have a
Yeah.
level of freedom, but they don't even understand the freedom that you have in having ownership of your purity.
Ownership of your purity.
Mm-hmm.
This is my body and you don't get to violate it.
Mm-mm.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is beautiful
Yeah.
from as a mother and grandmother. You know how I would love to hear every woman, single woman in my life say that because that is so rare. And I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, boy, Angela, you were fresh a long time. You started having sex long, long before she even took the purity pledge. That's just my story. I'm not that way anymore, but that
Right.
was I was fast.
Yeah. But let's be real
You
now. We
went through
all had some
college
of that.
without
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
sex,
Yeah.
guarding,
Now,
overprotecting your purity.
yeah.
Talk to us about how difficult was that.
I don't want y'all to get the wrong idea because there were feelings and there were thoughts. Because I think that that's another thing. People think that because I was so focused that I didn't have those conflicting thoughts and feelings. Because I am human. I'm still a woman. Stuff still looks good to me. So I went through a lot of having to discipline myself and train myself to shut certain things down. Now people used to say, well, it's not going you're not going to be able to do that because you're attractive. you're not gonna be able to fight it for so long. And so I think that's what, the guys kind of like tried to preach to me. You put up this front, it's the front, it's the front, it's the front, it's the front. And so I wouldn't be so free to tell it initially, but again, word gets around quickly. It's easy for everybody to say, well, she ain't putting out, she ain't giving it up or whatever. And so that's what I was dealing with. So I had, they were getting in line, I guess, trying to figure out, taking a number, trying to figure out, which one was going to be the one to break the code.
To break the code.
Yeah.
What would you say to young girls today, young ladies today? There may be some young ladies who are of adult age even. What would you say to them about not following the crowd, not engaging in activities over peer pressure or whatever, even if they're dating? Because you can date without becoming sexually active. Talk to them.
Right. You have to know your boundaries and your limits. Like if you know yourself, you know your limits, you know as much as you can take. I tell people I used to spend a lot of time alone, and we're afraid of loneliness. I think that we get being alone and being lonely, it is a misunderstanding.
Yes.
You have to be separated sometimes, just like, and I'm gonna make it biblical. When God was speaking to Moses went up into the mountains, he went up into the hills away from everybody. You have to have time alone in order for you to get refilled, in order to be able to get your weapons of defense. Yeah. We will get confused thinking that, okay, well, I'm going to have to do this because I'm having these feelings. I'm going to have to go ahead and have sex with this man so I can keep him around. I'm going to have to, and so I know, that type of pressure is there. And so if you are a woman who finds yourself in a situation where you feel like, you want to give in, because you just feel like it's time, you don't want to be alone, or you're tired of fighting this feeling, think of how tired God gets from rescuing you from so many situations you put yourself in. And think about how much of a slap in his face it would be. And, sex is one thing. Let's make sure we get that clear, because it's just a sin. It's just a sin, just like all the others. But the difference is, if you look at what Paul said, this is the only sin that you're doing with your body, though, with someone else. And so sometimes with sex, it can get it brings on other situations. You find yourself in a situation where you're addicted. You find yourself in a situation where there's so many things that can come from that. And so I would tell you, just trust God in it. Trust God to reach those specific things that you've asked him for in a mate. Trust God to be able to tell him to pour other things into you. Ask him to start to strengthen other areas of your life. Ask him to help you be a good steward of managing your money. Ask him to make you be a good steward of being a good friend. Like, ask him for other things, and don't focus so heavily on that. Ask him just to give you the power to overcome it, because you do deal with temptation. I still fight temptation. There have been times where, I've considered, like I shared before, where I've considered, and there have been times where I definitely haven't been perfect in this situation. However, it's just the grace of God, I promise you, will be able to meet every need that you have. Okay, even that feeling when you want to call Tyrone at 12 p.m., 12 a.m.
Okay. So what do you say to the young lady or ladies who have engaged in sexual activity? However, that doesn't mean you're promiscuous or you're fast or you're out there, because there's some that have engaged and have recommitted themselves, and now I'm doing it the right way. So I've done this before. That's my past, but now I want to go on this journey of keeping myself, of doing things the right way, the Bible way. So what do you say to those young ladies? Because I don't want someone to hear this show today and think, well, I've had sex, so I can't be virtuous. I've had sex, so I'm not clean. I had sex, so I'm not. No. What do you say to the young lady that may have had sex in the past, but now she wants to start anew, and she wants to venture on this journey of being virtuous and clean? And when I'm saying virtuous, I'm not talking about the entire Proverbs woman. I'm talking about in this sense at all, at all. I mean, in this sense alone, with our bodies. What would you say to those young ladies?
Let's go ahead and make this the world premiere, okay? The world premiere. I'm kidding, but listen, the world premiere for real is, I can talk to you from a real place now, okay? I know where you are. And so when I say I know where you are, I know from experience at this point in my life. And so What I will say is, girl, get up. Sarah Jakes Roberts
up.
said it the best. That's no reason to stay down. The same way you fought through other stuff in your life, I don't care what men may be trying to tell you, because that's what we think too. Well, I've been with this person or whatever, and so I feel like I can't be, this virtual person, this virtuous woman. Says who? Look in the Bible. You got so many examples there. Rahab. Come on now. Rahab, when Rahab's name was mentioned in the second half of the Bible, she wasn't even mentioned as Rahab the prostitute anymore. Go back and look at the New Testament. Rahab was mentioned as one of the great great grandmother, if I'm not mistaken, of Jesus. And so she was a descendant of Jesus. They didn't even refer to her who she was in the Old Testament. Who cares? If people have things to say about what you've done and where you have been, leave it with them. Oh, well, focus on who it is that you're trying to be. He did it for Rahab. He did it for the woman at the well. Look at all the examples that you have there. The woman with the issue of blood, like, you're healed. Move on from it. They got healed, and what they do? They went and they flourished. Let this make you. You are clean. Anything that you have asked God for forgiveness of, like, there's no reason to think of yourself as less than. I don't care how many you've been with. I know they get on this whole thing of a body count. And I've even been guilty of thinking like, well, Lord, I don't want like a big body count. But either way, if you're having sex, you're having sex. It doesn't matter how many you're doing it with or you've done it with. But get up from it. Let it be a lesson. And not only that, don't let it just be a lesson for you. Teach somebody else. Teach somebody else.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, I can say from experience now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your greatest challenges? Even now at 41, because you've been riding this rodeo a long time.
Yeah.
You've been setting the example and showing up and mentoring a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A long time.
Yeah.
What is your greatest challenge even now?
My greatest challenge, I spent 10 years just focused on career. Literally. Like, I would date here and there. I would have, situations where I don't look at missed opportunities. I think I've said that before too. And I'm going to tie this all in together, because I think that one of the things that everyone around me wants to see, everyone wants to see me married with a family, like, just to be realistic. Everyone wants this for me. Not to sound braggadocious and not to sound like I miss whoever. I've had multiple opportunities to get married. I've had multiple opportunities to move forward into a lot of situations. It's just that I would choose my career and my ministry over that, and it will cause conflict. And so at this point, I don't feel like I missed anything. But what I do feel like my greatest challenge is now that I'm open to that, now that I'm like, okay, I can do it all. At that point, I didn't think I could do all of it, because I was so gung-ho on, I'm going to focus on what God wants me to do. And I can do what God wants me to do, but I can also have ministry and family. I can have ministry, and he wants to, and I feel like at this point that he's expanding my ministry. He wants to take it in a different direction. And so my greatest challenge has been getting over myself to be able to move with where he's taking it, to be open to, like, he's telling me now, like, okay, prepare for marriage, prepare for, even though I'm 41, like, a lot of people have started sooner. Prepare for the children. Like, he's literally speaking this into me, and I'm just like, okay, God, from where? I don't see, and so that's my greatest challenge now, is preparing myself for those things, because ministry is hard, but it's easy for me. It's easy for me to get up and inspire, but now when it comes to me, like, actually doing the things that I have ministered to other people, now I'm like, okay, bring it in, and be okay with letting God be God.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add to that, Brett? Any questions you want to ask? Because I'm.
No, you actually touched on what I was going to ask her about, when you're speaking to other women about that have had sex and then now they're trying to go back. But to touch on your challenges, so you spoke of what what your biggest challenge is right now. What do you think is the first step that you had to take to acknowledge and know, okay, this is what I need to do to try to get beyond? Even though I'm saying it's a challenge now, how do we get from it's no longer a challenge, I'm just gonna do it? Because sometimes we look at challenges and we be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna still hold off for a minute. But then there's something that's like, you know what? No, it's not a challenge. It may be a challenge somewhat, but I'm gonna look it in the face and I'm gonna go beyond it. I'll give it a little wink and keep walking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know that I'm very much knowledgeable of spiritual warfare. Not to go too deep into it, but I know that spiritually there is an attack on marriage and relationships in my family. I do know that I made this bold declaration really early in life that I'm a generational curse breaker. And when you make declarations, you invite the enemy to come on and fight. And so the thing is, if you call somebody out to fight, you got to be able to fight too. Like, I'm not gonna call you out and let you beat me up. And so for many years, I feel like he added to the fact that he knew I was career driven. He knew that I was motivated by, community service. He had me thinking, I know it had to be the enemy. He had placed it in my mind. He planted this thing in my mind of, you can't do this and have no husband and no kids now because you're going to be lacking in some area. You can't do this. And, that's not going to be successful because you've never seen it. How are you going to be a wife and you never seen it up close and personal? How are you going to be, this and nobody has taught you how to be that? Those are the things. And so that's why I would always say, well, God ain't prepared me yet. But honestly, when God brings you a thing, he prepares you for. He doesn't give you anything he doesn't prepare you for. And so I got out of my own way. So when I started kind of studying spiritual warfare a little different, I'm like, there is an attack on my family. When I started looking around and assessing some things, there's an attack on marriage and relationships. And if I say I'm going to break this curse, if I say I'm going to be an example for my nieces and nephews, if I say I'm going to be the example for my future children, like, listen, I'm going to be the one that shows them what a healthy, godly relationship, marriage, and family looks like, no matter when it happens. I have to be the example. And so that was my moment to say, girl, stop letting the devil beat on y'all. Like, he's literally been beating on y'all in this area. You say you ready, lace up your Air Force Ones or your Timbs, and let's go.
No, that's
and so
okay
that's
now. I like
yeah,
that.
so you're never too old, right? So we have this thing of where we've allowed society to say, oh, no, you're over 40. That time is gone. You missed it. What do we say to our generation? Because we do have some young ladies in our generation that feel like, okay, I hear what she's saying, but listen, I'm 40. If he hadn't made his way here now, then he's not coming. But listening to you, we know that that's not happening. So what would you say to the women of our generation now that's looking back and thinking of what they were told back in the day? Well, if you haven't found them by 30, 35, you 40? No, that is gone now. What do we say to those young ladies?
There's a season for everything. And I know we're tired of hearing these things. There's a season for everything. We know Ecclesiastes tells us that there's a season for everything. The same way there's a season for everything, there's seasons for everybody. And so within that, I think that just as you said, previously in previous years, you hear the doctor say, well, you shouldn't have children after 35, but that's just a suggestion because we know that the womb still works. We hear doctors, we hear people say, well, if you haven't met them by this point in your life, but then we also see broken situations where people got married too young. And then now we're walking next to them and they're divorced and they're out here dating along with us. And so you can't look at what society says. I've never been a statistic person. Statistics when it came to these types of things. I only like stats when it comes to research for sports or things like that. But when it comes to kingdom related things, like the Bible is my source for everything. And so when you look in there, there's nothing but supernatural power all through the Bible. And so there's an example for everything that we deal with. I mean, look at Sarah and Elizabeth. I mean, we don't want to be 90. We know that technically God ain't gonna have us in our 90s doing this,
Come on.
I have to be out there. So I was that person who would never put myself, like, I'm not going on the market. I've always been big on, I ain't going out there. I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Now in my situation, it was a little different because, in the church circuit, people always see you. So, all of my stuff would come from the church circuit, but I'll be blocking. But, but in order for you to really get what it is that you need, you have to be out there and be open to it. And so again, if you get married, after 40 and there are issues with or complications with childbearing, again, like I said, you got adoption. But then after 40, you can still have children. Y'all, listen, I'm going to be the example. Y'all just wait. When y'all see my two little babies.
Yes, honey.
When y'all see my son and my daughter that the Lord told me I'm having, and going to see them into adulthood, like I'm not going to be, my children are not going to have to grow up without me. I speak these things over my womb now.
Yes.
I speak, I speak the things I want to see. I speak over my womb every day that my children are saved. I speak over my husband, who I don't see yet, every single day. I ask God to protect him. I ask God to, give him all the things that he needs in order to be the right man for me. I speak over all these things already. So I'm preparing. So I don't have to be physically prepared. I'm spiritually prepared. So I know that God will bring provision. Yeah. So spiritually prepare yourself, sis. Just get off of all this stuff, social media telling you this, girl.
Yeah.
God said.
I like that when you say God makes provisions, because I think we put God in this box. And when we think provision, it's like, okay, it has to be this, but that's something key. He makes provisions. Your womb may be closed, but there's adoption. There's foster. So I think if we start to look, that to me, I heard you say that, and I'm like, wow, we do kind of like put things in a box sometimes, but he's making provisions for you for what applies to your situation, as long as we're not looking at other situations. What's for you is for you, so that provision is going to be for you. That's what I heard when you said provision. I was like, wow, we do kind of
we'll be on that altar crying about stuff that we got solutions for. Like, I promised myself I would no longer be on the altar crying about something that there's a solution for, and I know the solution. Just do it.
Just do it. Honey, y'all got me over here about to cry. I'm ready to run. Yes, now. That was priceless. That was really, really priceless for all of our listening audience. And that's for men and women. If you're listening to this broadcast today, you're hearing all this good stuff. Understand that your purity that you can be overprotective for is for men and as well as women. And it's not too late. These two, I'm saying for both of them, these two ladies could be married before you know it. God is going to send them the husbands that they desire. And I'm here to tell you from my experience, if you wait on him and let him do it, he'll give you the man after his own heart, and your marriage will be beautiful. I wouldn't trade nothing for my little husband for nothing in the world. And I'm one of those that you talked about, Aisha. I got married as a teenager. And after 15 years, we got divorced. Well, our parents made us get married. So I don't tell people God put us together. But this time, I was 40, getting ready to turn 44 when we got married. And I was like, man, I'm getting too old for this. But I knew I wanted to grow old with it. So when we got married, I'm about to be 59 Friday, and I am at the best point in my life. And I still feel like I'm a little bit young sometimes, So I still have a whole life ahead of me, So I'm just glad, man. I'm here to tell you, if you, like you say, you keep everything in order, you keep everything in place, to take God out of this box that y'all talk about and understand his principles and way of doing things. And he's going to bless you both with the desires of your hearts. And I just want to say, on behalf of women everywhere, all around the globe, thank you for being such a shining example. Thank you for coming on and telling us how important it is to be virtuous women, to be to protect our virtue, those young girls, to mentor them, to show them that Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and whoever else out there that shows everything sexual in nature, that is not the only way to be. It's not the standard for us. And it doesn't have to be the answer for them or the pattern. Thank you for being an example and a pattern for our young girls to follow.
Yes.
Thank you. All these
Yes,
years.
ma'am. Thank you all for having me.
Yes, thank you for showing us how to shine above our circumstances. We say it in church, but not everybody does it. We talk it, but not everybody lives it. But I've been watching you for years.
Right.
I've been watching you. Yes, I may not have thought you were perfect, but I sure thought you were close to it. I'm like, this little girl here understands some things. You know, just watching how you carry yourself, and not to bring a reproach upon God or your mom or your family or yourself. Your reputation, your name has stood the test of time here, where in the place where you call home. And whatever God has for you, wherever he's taking you next, I know that you're going to continue to demonstrate his nature and his character, and you will continue to shine as he enlarges your territory. And when you meet your husband, how about holler at your girl and let me know I'm invited to the wedding? That's all I'm going to say.
Listen, the world will know, okay? I ain't hiding them.
And I just thank you for coming on and being with us today and sharing your life with us.
Yes,
your
ma'am.
journey with us. I know there's much more to come. And I know even if you have not specifically stated every adversity, you have stated enough to let us know that through it all, you can still stand, and stand with your head held high. And as you said to Brett, and help somebody else along the way. So thank you.
Amen.
You've been an awesome guest. Thank you, Brett, for being an awesome co-host on today. And I just thank God for this episode of We Are One, where you came and talked to us about being preserved oil, not just having God preserve your oil, but being preserved oil, and showing and an example. So tell us now, what is next for you, real briefly? What is your immediate next?
My immediate next, I'm currently relocating. I haven't shared, details with everyone. So I'm moving to a new state, which is going to be a challenge for me, but I'm not going to look at it as a challenge anymore. As everyone knows, I recently lost my mother, and so it's a month today, and so actually 2 months today. And in transitions like that, you're kind of looking around and you're trying to figure out, what next, God. And so literally, when I tell you there's been a grace that God has just given me to walk through, and I've been walking through so many open doors, in these 2 months that have just been blowing my mind. And so I'm just excited, looking forward to this new journey. I don't know what it is that God would have for me, in this new place, but I do know that whatever it is, that it will be impactful, and I am ready for it.
You're ready for it.
Yes.
And we are praying that everything that God has for you will manifest in your life as you say you're ready, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. You're ready. And we are glad that you are ready, and you're going on to the next phase of your life, on your journey. And that state is blessed to have you come and be a resident there. And we just thank God for you, and we pray God's continued blessings on your life, and stay in touch. And to all of you who are joining us today, keep watching, keep listening, keep tuning in to We Are One on this Empowerment Podcast platform, because more is yet to come. And who knows, we might be hearing from Miss Aisha Farmer again. You never know.
No, you might be hearing from Mrs. We don't know what her last name is.
Aisha. We don't know the last name yet. Mrs. Aisha will definitely be coming back when she gets married, and talking to us about that other side, that married life, the woman who has it all and can have it all. With God, all things are possible.
Amen.
So with that being said, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to We Are One, the #1 talk show in the land. And we thank God for you. And we want you to continue to tune in with our podcast platform, www empowermentpodcastnetwork.com. God bless you. Holla at your girl.